Welcome to 1 in 20 D&D. Okay, we're recording. This will be Battletech Session 1. Here we go.
Okay, guys, welcome. For posterities, I'm Brett. I'm the game master for this. Our players are Gregory, Alan, Matthew, Eric, and Jeff. And we're going to try a Roll20 version of Battletech. So we're using pretty close to the classic Battletech master rules, but as you know, that's a pretty solid book with a lot of details in it, because not everyone has played and not everyone has those rules. We've got a little bit simpler version that we're going to be operating off of, which will hopefully speed stuff up. It's generally, I'd say, about 90% matched, but there are some differences. If any of you players or listeners are very familiar with it, you'll probably see we've streamlined just a few things, but I think the intent and the way the game plays is pretty similar. Okay, so how many of you guys are familiar with Battletech? I mean, besides the few little tabletop games we dicked with at one point, as far as like the lore and stuff like that. I know Eric, Alan, Gregory, and I are. Matt and Jeff, do you know too much about this, or just a little bit from what we've tinkered with earlier?
Very little.
Same with me.
Okay, so we got
I've read a little bit, but not. Way in the future, we've got everyone left Earth, and then they fight each other on different planets.
Okay, two Battletech versions. We'll bring you up to speed.
Big stumpy
so
robots.
did you look at the intro I sent you? Get a chance to read through that to get sort of a feel for the technology level?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we won't need to go through that again. Anyway, so it is the year 3049. At the moment, and this is not quite matching the lore because of the Federated Commonwealth merger, I'm not having that happen at this point, but there are pretty much 5 main houses that have gone out amongst the stars. So the English, American, French, sort of Western European descent sort of formed the Federated Suns group of stars. That's sort of like east of Terra in the galactic scale. The Germanic and eastward, Russians, some of the Central Europeans formed both the Lyran Commonwealth and also the Rasselhig Republic. Is that the right one? The Free Republic, whatever it is, the House Merrick. Anyway,
That's
they're
right.
sort of off to the west. The Japanese descended cultures formed the Draconis Combine, which is sort of to the galactic north. And then to the south is the Chinese derived culture, which is the Capellan Confederation. So these pretty much form the 5 main houses. Now, they obviously vie with each other for resources, planets, all that. The core planets, safe within their space, are pretty well defended. They're very peaceful, a little bit more populous, but at the periphery where these large star nations sort of intersect, then you start to get some conflict. There's always lots of planets and moons that are being contested, and it's sort of almost been a multi-century slow-rolling, world war. Slow just because the distances involved don't lend themselves to like super huge campaigns. If it takes weeks or months to travel from one planet, to whatever planet the fight is going on, it's not really fast to like reinforce and so forth. And a lot of these aren't super populated planets anyway. I mean, they'll have maybe millions of people, hundreds of millions, even a billion or so, but we're not talking like Warhammer 40k hive planets or just like every square inch of it's been turned into some militarized factory or something. For the most part, these are probably fairly like Earth. A lot of them in some ways are fairly similar technology level because they have to be pretty self-sufficient. So although there are starships and star travel, it is very expensive. It is not common. So you don't exactly like just jump on your the Star Wars Starliner, hit the light speed, and arrive at the adjacent planet in a day. It's pretty much almost like back in several centuries ago, where you'd have to get on like a steamliner and travel for quite a while to the next continent. So anyway, of these five main houses, you guys, unless you want to say otherwise, are all born somewhere within the Lyran Commonwealth. So this is the Germanic Russian sort of derived section. They have probably hundreds of planets. Within this Commonwealth. They are probably the second largest and strongest of the 5 main houses by a hair. The Federated Suns may be a little bit stronger. Probably Draconis Combine is third, and then the other 2 houses are a little bit smaller. And actually, the reason I say houses is that because of the distances involved and there isn't efficient interstellar communication, it's a very feudal type society with, sort of the equivalent of a king or a prince at the top. These are pretty much the royal houses, and then it goes down to, dukes and barons and governors and, military, generals and so forth that run these different planets. So it's a very feudal society. Anyway, each one of the main star nations is headed by a single house. So the Lyran Commonwealth is headed by House Steiner, the Federated Suns by House Davian. The other three we don't need to go into right now, it's not relevant. Anyway, so you guys pretty much are almost like a space version of a feudal, German Eastern European type culture. Now, compared to some of the other cultures, these guys are very aristocratic and class-based. So especially the German-derived folks are very sort of like, focused on the rank, the royalty, the bloodlines, the wealth involved, all that. They're almost like a bunch of, popping jays in some case. Where on the flip side, the other half of the nation, the more the Eastern European, Russian, that sort of stuff, tends to be much more like working man. So there's a little bit of friction between the two. I mean, they get along. Populations are very well intermixed, but there are some planets that still speak almost entirely Russian or Polish or Czech, or obviously many of them still speak German. The military forces are combined and unified. Most military forces for all these nations are sponsored by the nation themselves, but because the distance, it is still a feudal society, so a lot of it comes down to like planetary militias. If someone is trying to fight a major war, they're going to pretty much send instructions to all their vassals in these different planets and subrealms. Says, okay, raise a force, send it to me in these planets. We're like in the middle of an engagement with Draconis Combine or the Capellans or something like that. There's also an awful lot of mercenary units that roam the I wouldn't say the galaxy here. This isn't exactly a galaxy spanning empires here, but that do roam the star systems. They vary in size from pretty much free companies of just maybe a dozen mechs up to reinforced regiments, which may have 3 or 4 battalions. So you guys are actually going to be part of a mercenary company. And in this setting, the mercenaries are generally fairly well respected. It's not like the old dogs of war from centuries ago where, they pretty much collect, money from the highest bidder and they'll flip their allegiance at the drop of a hat. There's a few units that may be like that, but they normally don't survive long, and they just form and unform. The more established mercenary units can actually last for generations. Some of them are pretty much almost tied to the planet. If they've been on garrison duty for the same planet for so long and they get along well with the populace, by default they'll almost end up filling in as the leadership of that planet. Where our story starts is with Captain Chukov. So if you look at our table of organization equipment here, Captain Chukov is a distant cousin of Major Kohler. Major Kohler is the head of the Brotherhood, or the Bratva? Bratva. Okay, so group vote. Do you want to change the Russian name or the English name for calling yourselves the Brotherhood?
I like the Russian name.
Yeah, I'm down with that for sure.
It's so much harder than English.
It's a very simple word. It's like 5 letters.
Bratva. Super easy.
6, isn't it? Okay, Bratva. Whichever. So, the Bratva, the Brotherhood, has been around probably about 3 generations. It was started by Major Kohler's grandfather. He was very close friends with the local baron of some planet that I don't have a name for because it's not relevant to the rest of the story. And over the course of generations, his grandfather and then his father and then he himself pretty much, fought for the unit, built the unit, brought in different associates and so forth. Captain Chukov is a distant relation of Major Kohler and had pretty much not been part of the unit for quite some time. He'd been pretty much working with planetary militia, but had done that for about 10 years, got sort of tired doing that stuff, or got recruited for the supposedly much better life of a mercenary. Now, to some extent, mercenary life can be very boring. A lot of these mercs just end up sitting around doing garrison duty all the time, or they get used as fodder, thrown into the major fights to soften up the enemy, and then the other guys go in. So being a merc's not really all that appealing to a lot of folks, but for the folks that like to fight, if they're with a good unit, it can be quite an interesting career. So back in the days of when Captain Chukov was working in the planetary militia, he was friends with Sergeant Ivan Vasilyevich. Damn it, we're going to start doing like American shit in the future here. I'm going to kill you, Alan. Ivan Vasilyevich. So that is Alan's character.
German is just as fun.
They had fought together for numerous campaigns. Knew things were, pretty much they trust each other. They fought together well. Captain Chukov had, for about 2 years, worked under Mech Company Alpha with Major Kohler. He was in Bravo Lance. You can sort of see the layout there. These lances will change a little bit in size and what they have. When mech will get knocked out, they'll recruit or replace another one. Anyway, Captain Chukov lost his right arm during combat, which pretty much took him out of the pilot's seat. So at that point, Major Kohler had said, you know what, we're getting to the point with finances and size that we need to add another mech company. So why don't you start one? It's going to be a provisional company. We have 4 mechs left over. Pretty much just spares, junker stuff they'd either bought for cheap and got working again, stuff that's been captured. So Captain Chukov, still wanting to be part of the unit, said, perfect, I'd love to help expand the company. I can certainly still direct a company from behind, even if I can't sit in the mech cockpit and fight it myself. So as his second in command, he turned back to his friend Crazy Ivan, said, Ivan, hey, it's your old friend Captain Chukov. Hey, I'm working at this mech company, I'm setting up a mech company for the Bratva. I think you should join us. So Crazy Ivan said, as long as I can do some killing and a lot of drinking, I'm there. So yada yada yada, Crazy Ivan with his Wolverine joins Mech Company Bravo. Now, since there's really only one company and one mech one mech in this entire company at this point, they're just calling it Delta Lance. You don't really have Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie because there's only really the one. Plus, there are 4 other mechs that they managed to scrounge up: a commando, a spider, a centurion, and a rifleman. And then Captain Chukov and Crazy Ivan, Sergeant Vasilyevich, pretty much started reaching out to their contacts and were looking for mech warriors who could join the group and fight these mechs. So, and that brings us pretty much to the present, where all of you, through some contact or another, have come before Sergeant Vasilyevich and Captain Chukov for pretty much a job interview. They've looked through your qualifications, checked references, all that. They think you're qualified. So this is almost more of a group meeting of the, what would this be, 7 of you? 6 of you, just to talk through who you are, where you came from, and let's get this frickin' unit started. So you guys are all pretty enthusiastic. So at this point, I'm going to jump out. Let's go to the spreadsheet I sent you, the one that says Brotherhood Mechs. Open that one up, please, and go to the Players and Characters tab.
Oh gosh.
I have it's Battletech Classic Mechs is what I've got, and it does have the Players and Characters tab.
That's right, I renamed that. So I add some other Brett's version of Battletech. So yeah, it's the one file I sent you which had the mechs on it. So we need to pretty much generate characters. This is your character sheet. As you can see, it's not all that complicated. So Alan, you, since you were the winner of our Car Wars tournament last time we did all this stuff, get to start as a sergeant. So you have 25 XP. You are level 4. That makes you a sergeant.
Actually, no.
This is the Battletech Classic mechs, right?
Yes.
Tab? So we want players and characters. Oh yeah, okay. So I have that printed. Okay, sorry. Carry on.
You said I'm level
What I
4?
suggest is so that we can all see the same thing. It might be good to put these on like Google Sheets.
Google Sheets, yeah.
And then we can have sort of just a live view that is updated.
Yes.
I will in the future. For now,
Yeah,
I'm going to run the
right
master
now, I'm just
copies.
saying.
Personally, I very much don't like Google, so I'm reluctant to do Google Docs and Google Chat and Google this and Google Cloud Drive and Google everything because they're sort of overwhelming the world and I don't like their policies. But if there's no other way to do it, then we'll consider doing that. For now, we can just talk through it. You guys can fill in for your own character. Character name. So Matt, you emailed me yours out or texted. Gregory, what's your character's name? You are
Bradley Tankellar.
Brad.
It's in the roll 20, dude.
Well, I didn't have a chance to type all that stuff in. So, and can't you guys freaking get like simple names? Jesus. I'm gonna start calling you guys all Lieutenant Dan. Okay.
What's hard about Crazy Ivan?
Oh,
Here's
Crazy
a
Ivan's
simple
fine. Tankalar.
tank.
Okay, Jeff, character name.
Milo Gruber.
Milo?
Milo.
Love it.
Milo Gruber. Okay.
Remember our
and
old teacher back in high school,
Heck
Milo?
yeah,
He
dude.
ran the,
Milo, man.
Milo!
Of course.
that'll work. Eric, how about a name?
My name is Ivan.
Also Ivan. That's going to be a pain.
People call me Slapstick because I am very funny.
Okay,
See, everything is joke.
Funny Ivan. Okay,
Crazy Ivan and Funny Ivan.
aka Slapstick. Okay, if you are not named Crazy Ivan, roll a d10. Actually,
Are we?
roll a d12.
Can we use our own dice, or are you going to make
No.
us use our die roller?
You guys are all cheaters.
Fuck you.
Now let's make you feel.
A cheater, man.
It was a D12, Jeff.
Oh,
you have
12.
to fucking like.
Someone said
Wait,
10.
can't I just type the thing? And
I thought you
make it
said
go?
10. Make up your mind. D10 or D12?
d12 I changed. Okay,
11. Boom.
so on your first valid d12 roll, whatever that number is your experience. So Matt, you are 6.
Oh,
Eric, you are 3. Jeff, you are 8.
That rank or level? What do I do? Where do I put that in the spreadsheet?
That'll be under experience points.
Boom.
Oh, XP. All right. 8.
And Gregory, you're in need of training.
11. What's Alan's at? Ivan?
Oh wait, where are you?
He's at. I rolled an 11.
25.
Oh, sorry.
25. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Funny Ivan. What do you prefer? Just Ivan or Slapstick or?
Slapstick is fine.
Okay.
I love
So
it.
Slapstick is starting at level 1 as a cadet. So you guys will, this is before you actually engage, you're going to all gain some experience, which will bring you up a little bit closer. So you were probably fresh out of the academy, and you have been recruited by the Star League to defend yada yada. Okay. So initiative. Now this is something I added based more on some video game versions as opposed to the actual books. The book was like, you guys just take turns moving mechs, and it seemed a little bit lame. Plus I'm trying to balance out how effective assaults are versus lights. Because in the Battletech rules, lights are fodder. You know, they're just targets for big mechs, and I'm trying to make it a little bit more fair that if you're a smaller mech, you can live longer and be a little more effective. Anyways, that's why we had initiative.
Okay.
So, as a cadet, Eric, you are +0 initiative. Your pilot skill and your gunnery skill are 6+. Let's see, Matt.
Honestly, that's better than I expected.
The rest of you are all mech warriors. So that is level 2.
What? Greg rolled a 2.
That was a D10.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
Rolled the wrong die. So I should have made him keep the first one if it was higher,
You should have.
but then it's not really fair because he would have gotten a second chance. Okay, so the 3 of you who are mech warriors, your initiative is +0, your pilot skill is 5+, and your gunnery skill is 5+.
Who was that for? Greg?
No.
That's for Matt, Greg, and Jeff.
Oh, wait. So say that again. Our initiative is what?
So all 3 of you, initiative +0, pilot 5+, gunnery 5+.
And then what's our level and rank?
You are level 2 and
Warrior.
rank is mech warrior. Okay, now one more chance to redeem yourselves. Everyone roll a d10, except you, Alan. let's do one at a time here. So let's start with
I
Mac.
already went, but I'll take it back.
No
Unless I
biggie.
roll worse.
Now, if you roll an 8 or above, you own your own mech. If you roll a 1, then
Sweet.
pretty much you
10,
owe
baby.
people money. So,
That's dope. Roll 20's being kind to
Okay.
me for a change.
Does mine count, or do I have to roll again?
no, yours counts. So,
Okay.
pretty much you need to roll high. Gregory rolled high. So, Gregory, you actually own your own mech. You came from
Bam!
money or your previous fighting. You had been through enough to either save up, you scavenge something along those lines. It won't
When
be
the-
a fancy mech, but you own your own mech.
When the
You have a
so Tank's background is yeah, Tank is he was a tank driver for like 9 years, and he wanted to be a mech warrior, mech pilot, but they wouldn't let him until he proved himself. So he went and he did that. But the Legion he was in, the mercenary unit he was in, we got slaughtered. To be completely honest, we got devastated in this one bloody combat, and so the unit broke apart. And then I got in with another group, and they fell apart too. But hey, I got salvaged. What can I say?
Yeah. So we'll actually jump ahead then, because that's a really good segue. Is at this point you guys are all gathered around, Captain Chukov, and then Sergeant Vasilyevich. Sort of, some of you may know each other previously. Probably the rest of you are fresh recruits. So he just says, okay, let's just have some vodka. This company is definitely more the working man's company, whereas Major Kohler's pretty cool, but some of the other guys are much more sort of like, nose in the air, prim and proper, I come from money, I'm, the third cousin, second remove from Queen so-and-so, yada yada. You guys are like, hey, I'm not working the factory, this is cool.
Brett,
So-
can you give us Crazy Ivan's stats? Because if you said it, I didn't get it written down.
Rolls 2.
So-
+5, 4, +5, +.
Got it?
Say it again.
XP 25, level
Level-
4,
okay.
Sergeant. Initiative is +5.
5 plus
Pilot
5
skill
plus.
4+, gunnery skill 5+.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. So let me save that before I forget.
Oh, I should say, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. So Crazy Ivan, tell us a little bit about your background.
Oh man, I didn't have any time to put that together.
Okay. Crazy Ivan's pretty much slurring his speech, so whatever he says doesn't make much sense at the moment. Anyone else have a backstory or want to dream something up rapidly?
Well, I had already done tanks. So
Yeah.
so Tank
Tanks
is
is-
he started out in a planetary militia, and he worked his way up to sergeant. But that was like I said, they made me. I worked up to a sergeant in the militia. Then I joined the Merc outfit. And they knocked me back down, of course, because you can't be a sergeant when you join a Merc unit. So then I like I said, I proved myself driving tanks, hover tanks, and tanks with the tracks. It didn't matter. Whatever they gave me, I piloted the best I could.
So, Eric, you are the cadet level. Do you want to come with a quick story as to, are you just fresh out of the academy? Are you like sort of a wannabe guy, sort of informally trained and maybe not fully skilled, but any thoughts on where your character came from?
Let's see. No, I just came out of academy, and they say that's very funny because I trip over a rake and it hit me. So they called me slapstick.
Very funny.
Some of you have heard that story. Okay, so you're just fresh out of the academy. Do you want to say you're related to Crazy Ivan, or just had
Oh yeah,
heard there was
all
an opening?
Ivans, we're all related.
Yeah, there's like 7 Ivans in your family or something.
Exactly. My dad is Ivan, my brother's Ivan, my uncle's Ivan,
Your
my
mother is
cousin's
Ivan.
Everybody Ivan.
Okay. Matt, any idea for what your character comes from?
He didn't go through the academy. He just got through a mech warrior or mercenary group from his Gangster pass.
There we go. Okay, so we're filling some stuff here. Okay, so you're gangster pass.
No money right now.
Gangster pass. That's a good point. Motivation. So all about money. These guys pay okay, and they've got a medium reputation. You know, the Brofta is not the wealthiest one around, but they, you know, seem to be well known. They're established. It's not some like, hey, we just formed this unit. You've never heard of us. Come join us. Okay, so Slapstick is fresh out of the academy.
Just doing a quick look up on backgrounds here. I'll choose the family died in a freak jump ship accident. Left nothing behind but debt. Sold all the family wealth. You know, to pay for that debt. I mean, all the 5 million items that were left over to pay for the debt. And been an inner sphere mercenary since.
Yeah. And we'll say somewhere along the line you came across the Wolverine, because you actually do own the Wolverine. The rest of you guys are renting. So Tank actually, since Greg rolled 10, has his own mech. So you can choose one of these others we have, Gregory, or we can say yours is in the shop for this session and come up with something else that suits your interests, you know, for the next game.
I kind of dig the Centurions. What's the loadout for the Centurion? Let me take a peek at that, because I don't remember.
I mean, it's mainly pink paintball guns and stuff like that. No, it's these are all very generic build outs. So it's AC-10, LRM-10, and 2 medium lasers.
Right.
I thought for sure you were to go with the commando.
He actually wants to live in this one.
I mean,
Yep.
commandos are
There's a
fun.
commando in the real life.
But I love the Centurion. That's actually one of my more favorite mechs. So AC-10, LRM-10, 2 medium lasers. Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly how I play.
Okay, so I'm going to add a column here that says mech owned. Okay, so Alan, you've got the Wolverine. Gregory, you got lucky. Almost made corporal. Should have rolled a 12. Now, there's pros and cons about having your own mech. The con is if you guys kill another mech and suddenly find a new one, then Matt, Jeff, or Eric can suddenly get a better mech than you have. So in the meantime, they get whatever pickup is, and they can also change around mechs. So, but you two have got your own. Jeff, thoughts about your background?
Background. Family owns a junkyard. I'm just mechanically inclined and would put these things together and take them apart through the years, but pretty poor, so that's why I have to rent a mech now, and not formally trained, not part of the academy. Just had enough skills that some guys took me on and gave me some higher training and some a little bit more responsibility.
Cool. So maybe it was like construction mechs and things like that that you're used to, not really combat mechs, but have the basics of piloting down.
Exactly.
Okay. So when you are joining a unit like this, whether you bring your own mech or not, you guys all sort of get your same basic pay for rank and all that. If you bring your mech, obviously you get additional, pretty much they will treat it as their own mech as far as priority for ammunition, repairs, upgrades, stuff like that. So for the mercenary unit, they like it because they don't have to outlay for a brand new mech. The maintenance and stuff, you guys don't have to worry about because they cover the maintenance. So that's why it's generally, if you can save up to pay for a mech, then you can join a unit. As long as you use it and it doesn't get like wiped out, you can end up maintaining it and, you know, build your skill set and stuff like that. So that is the group of you. So Captain Zhukov is talking to you guys. Pretty much you guys just have like a bullshit session, you know, around the table, drinking a bunch of vodka, you know, shooting war stories, getting to know each other a little bit. There were some other candidates as well. He didn't like them quite as much. He gives you a little heads up on some of the other guys that are in the Bratva. As you guys can see, especially if you know your mechs, this is a combined arms company, or combined arms battalion. So you've got 3 companies so far. You've got a mech company, an armor company, and an infantry company. You know, the more fancy, better known mercenary units are actually regiments, not battalions. A regiment will have normally 2 or more battalions in it. Each battalion will have anywhere between like 2 and 4 companies. They would like to grow your unit to the point where it actually has, you know, regimental strength. Like an ideal unit is almost like a reinforced regiment. It'll have tank unit, air cover unit, several companies of mechs. You guys are pretty much the bare minimum to count yourselves as like a full-size mercenary unit, because you do have one full mech company with 3 lances of 4. You've got an armor company with 3 platoons of 4, plus 1 spare tank, and then your infantry company is pretty much mainly defensive in nature. They guard your facilities. The 3rd platoon under Lieutenant Dan has got all your cooks, laundry, it's base security. They handle a lot of the details. These guys are light infantry. If you guys need to put down a riot, something like that, that's what these guys do. They are not like mech hunter, tank hunter specialist types. If there's any major combat, that's primarily you guys or the armor company. So the way a lot of these work is the mechs, the battle mechs, are the offensive arms for the sword, and the tanks, the armor company, is the shield. Now, you guys have got a mix of mechs as typical. Normally, Alpha Lance is your lightest lance. These tend to be used for scouting purposes, harassment purposes, things like that. That said, so a light, for those who aren't familiar, there are 4 types of mech classes. Light mechs go from 20 to 35 tons. Medium mechs go from 40 to 55. Heavy go from 60 to 75. And assault mechs go from 80 to 100 tons. So usually, like a big, well-funded, national army will have most of their forces being mediums and heavies. The assaults are great, but they're not very mobile and they're very expensive to maintain, so they're not very common. And then they'll have, a spattering of light mechs for, harassment, recon, stuff like that. A lot of the mercenary companies are a little bit lighter. They tend to be more light mechs and medium mechs because they're cheaper to purchase and maintain. You guys have got a commando, is a good recon mech. But actually your other 3 mechs in Alpha Lance are fairly good fighters. The Firestarter and the 2 Wolfhounds are all 35 tons, which is the upper edge of a light mech. They're not long range, but they're pretty good in a close range fight. A lot of medium lasers, there's flamers obviously in the Firestarter. Flip side, your Bravo Lance is a little on the weak side for a medium lance. You've got 2 40 and a 45 ton mech. Really the Bushwhacker is the only mech of any of this that's a brawler. The Vulcans are, sort of a couple of medium lasers. They've got an AC-5. The Hatchet Man's medium lasers with an axe. These are, they're not going to be toe-to-toe brawler mechs. Now the flip side, your Charlie Lance, which sometimes has your big brawler, is very much set up as a fire support lance. Both the Jaeger mechs are twin PPCs, so that is heavy firepower at long range. They are not good at close range because of the minimum range issue. The Caesar is a heavy mech with a single Gauss rifle and some secondary weapons in there, and then the Zeus is a extended range PPC as well as LRM.
Where do you
15.
have all this inventory? I don't think I have a sheet with that.
Are you not looking at the table of organization equipment?
I don't have that.
It's in Roll20.
Are you in Roll20 with this?
I am in Roll20, so it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, if you zoom out, you might need to. Here, Brett, hold down
Yeah.
Shift and click in the center of. Click the left button in the center of the table of organization.
Yeah. What is your magnification set to, Eric?
50.
You should be able to see it then.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. I just pulled it out. It was like zoomed way in on just basically the company name.
Right on.
Oh, got it.
And
So
Alpha
yeah.
was kind of in the corner. So
Yeah.
yeah, I got it. Go ahead,
So he just went through Mech Company Alpha, basically.
yeah.
yeah.
And Eric knows most of these.
Yep.
And by the way, all these mechs are, according to lore, fairly stereotypical Lyran Commonwealth mechs. Obviously, some stuff gets cross-pollinated, but these are very common. So if you wonder, like, where the hell did the Vulcan come from? Apparently the Vulcan, because, like, it's not a mech warrior mech, it's a very common mech for the Steiners. Anyway, what I was going to say, from a tactical standpoint, you guys are a little quirky in that you have got a great fire support Charlie Lance, fairly mobile and versatile Alpha and Bravo Lances, but no brawlers. So you guys can't be the stupid, brawl it out, out-ton them. It tends to be much more tactical of using Alpha and Bravo to lure the enemy into Charlie Lance's guns and then hammer them.
Nice.
So for those of you who sort of like look at this and just talking strategy, those characters of yours with experience sort of recognize, hey, this isn't quite your typical mech company. These guys have got to operate a little bit differently. Now, you guys pretty much have the leftover mechs. So, Captain Chukov is very pleased to get a Wolverine and a Centurion. These are both great middle-sized multi-purpose mechs. The other 3 mechs that were left over from the mech company Alpha, which are available for Slapstick, Drago, and Milo to use, sorry, I'm jumping back and forth here, are the Commando, the Spider, and the Rifleman. And you guys are not assigned to these mechs, so you guys can swap mechs between games. We actually recommend you do so. So to go back to the spreadsheet, I will show you. Have you guys had a chance to look through the spreadsheet and how the mechs are set out?
Yes.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Just vaguely. I mean, it's
Yeah, I mean, you know what it is, Eric.
pretty
More
much what I
importantly,
expect.
Jeff and Matt, are you familiar with these? Did you get a chance to look through these mechs?
I looked through them in our last time we played.
Okay, so you got a feeling. Jeff, did you get a chance to look through them?
On mute, I think.
Yeah, sorry, I've looked through them, but that doesn't mean I know what's better or what's not.
Yeah, you haven't played
Fair
more, so
enough.
at least you've seen them. Anyway, the little description of the picture gives you a heads up. So we'll get to those pretty shortly during your first scrimmage. The other parts of the company is the armor company. So that's under Major Vanker. He has 3 platoons of tanks, and especially as, you know, Bradley Tankakar, or what the hell's your fucking name?
Tankelar.
Tankelar. So, as our character Tank knows, these are some antique fucking tanks. They're not bad tanks, but they are the simplest tanks out there. They're extremely ubiquitous. Steiner is a very tank-heavy force, and that's sort of reflected here. So the T5s, these are all old-school internal combustion engine autocannon tanks. These are not laser, these are not fusion power plants, there's no firefighter's armor. It is steel plus a cannon, a machine gun, and a internal combustion engine. The upside is they are extremely cheap and extremely repairable. So literally, if it gets blown apart, they just mop out the crew, patch up the hole in the steel, and stick in a new engine, new crew, new gun, whatever. So his light tanks each mount 1 AC5. They are lightly armored. They're pretty much scout and harassment tanks. You know, good for like fights against infantry and technicals and shit like that. They're not really optimal to go against even the lightest of mechs. They're each 25 tons. The T10 medium tanks are 45 tons. They mount an AC-10 and a machine gun. And the one T20 heavy tank, which Major Vanker actually drives himself, is 55 tons, mounts an AC-20 and an AC-2.
Nice.
And then the 3rd platoon is 4 Jagdpanzer assault guns, are 30 tons with a fixed AC-10 to the front. So he apparently, personally, Major Vanker is a huge dick. From what you guys have heard, he is the most pretentious, stuck-up, you know, chip in his shoulder officer that has ever plagued the mercenary unit. So he seems to have been like a failed mech warrior and just got stuck in tanks. So he's made it his personal mission to make his tanks the best possible. And then he just has this huge attitude against mech warriors. You know, it's a huge mech. You know, he can buy an entire platoon for what it costs for one light mech. Look at how much more he can do, you know. But although Major Kohler sympathizes with that, he also says, look, no one hires a mercenary company based on how many tanks they have. They're hiring us because they need mechs. All these local guys have tanks out their ass. Pretty much, so Major Vanker is always playing the supporting role, and he's a little pissed about it. The guys under him seem to be okay dudes, and from what little you know, they seem to be very competent. Just Major Vanker himself is not really your, you know, Mr. Happy. But you may or may not be dealing with them too much. So, you guys shoot the breeze, all that stuff. You are then suggested, Captain Chukov says, well, let's get this going. He has scheduled a scrimmage in the training arena for you guys. So it'll just be the 5 of you against each other. It's all not combat. So the laser have been dialed down to like flashlights. It's all pretty much, you know, computer sensors. The missiles and the cannons are all like dud or rubber rounds. So essentially you guys can shoot each other to pieces. It's not real, though it's going to play like it's a real game. So he just wants to sort of get a feel for what your guys' skills are, let you get a feel for the mechs you're playing with and working with each other. So that will be our game for today.
Thank you so much for watching. I know this might have been a lot of information to take in. This was kind of our informative, create some characters, get a little bit of history, and sort of lay out the framework of the mercenary unit that we are quote-unquote working for. So if you enjoyed it, please give us a like and a thumbs up. Stay tuned, because right away I'm going to put up the actual gameplay from session 1, which may be more interesting and more up your alley. So look out for that. In the meantime, thank you for liking, subscribing, and hey, just showing up and taking a check out of our channel. I appreciate that and look forward to seeing you at a table someday. Until then, keep rolling 20s, or when you play Battletech, make them 6s.